Hand on heart, how much of your digital life actually belongs to you? And how much of it sits on servers in the USA, controlled by companies whose business model is often your own data? I want to give you an overview in this video today, and we'll look at how we can make ourselves independent, piece by piece, from US software. And the most important thing right up front, this really isn't an all or nothing video. Even if you only take one tip from this video, you've already gained a lot. It's not about turning your entire life upside down by tomorrow, because every small step towards free software is a huge win for your privacy. So even if you stay with Windows for now, but replace Google Drive with a Nextcloud, you've already won. And also, this video handles about US software. This is only because the big firms like Google, Microsoft and Facebook are from the USA. So if they would sit in Europe or Asia, it would be vice versa at most of the parts, because the strategy of them would be almost the same. But first, let's look why we should do it at all. There are two major problems, the legal one and the technical one. First, this is really US focused right now. There are laws in the USA like the US Cloud Act. In short, this means that US authorities can demand access to data from US companies even if the servers are located here in Europe. The GDPR, for example, often only protects us on paper if you are living in the EU, for example. But naturally, there's the other level, the technical side. The development of Windows, especially Windows 11, is unfortunately becoming increasingly intrusive. We see the push towards online accounts, which has become almost standard right now, ads in the start menu, and features like Microsoft Recall, which essentially turn themselves back on after every update and record almost everything you are currently doing on your computer. And to be honest, that's bad. Even if it's only stored locally on your computer, but the data is here and you don't want to make big data footprints in the digital life, because what's not here cannot be sent anywhere or cannot be exploited in any other ways. So it turns out you are no longer the admin of your own PC. You are just the user supplying data. And your own computer, if it runs Windows, factually doesn't belong to you anymore, because it does things you likely wouldn't allow to do. And yes, this is a problem. The most effective step here, of course, is switching to Linux. Here the system belongs completely to you. The code is open, meaning you can check every line to see how it was programmed, and there are also no hidden backdoors in Linux Mint, for example. My clear recommendation actually is starting with Linux Mint. It works very, very simple, looks familiar, and lets you work kind of in peace, or at least that's what most people think of. Many people on this YouTube channel have already switched to Linux before you. I can recommend doing this in the long run, but as I said, you don't have to do it by tomorrow, but you plan for it maybe in a year or in 2 years. That's totally okay. Long term, this can be a huge gain for you. I know this switch to Linux sounds huge at first. It sounds like a big hurdle, and I'd be lying if I said, yeah, it's super simple, one click and you're on Linux. That doesn't work like that. But here on Linux.org, we have many different tutorials, materials, and assistance to make it truly easy. For example, on our website, we have a Linux for Beginners section where you can get all the information about Linux, all the myths, but also we did a Linux Mint crash course where you can get started with Linux in a very short time. I will link you this crash course and the website into the video description. So if you want to switch, I can only recommend it for the long term. Otherwise, just keep it in the back of your mind. I totally understand if many say, yeah, that's nice and all, but I need my Windows right now because of these programs, or I need to look into it more. That's totally fine. Linux isn't going anywhere, and maybe Linux will be something for you in a few years. But as you noticed, the video continues. There are many other areas where you can take steps to move away, at least partially, from US software. And as mentioned at the start, every single step away from proprietary software towards free software is a good step. And with that, let's get to the next part. Assuming the system is running, whether Windows or Linux, what about your data? Where do you actually store it? Many people use Google Drive, OneDrive, or maybe still Dropbox, but the royal road here, which I would recommend, is Nextcloud. It is actually much more than just pure data storage. There are chats now, though I wouldn't personally recommend those yet. But what I do recommend are contacts, calendars, and tasks. You can sync all of that very easily with your mobile phone, even with your iPhone if you want. So with this, your data is encrypted and under your control if you like it. And the cool thing about Nextcloud is that it's not just another cloud provider. It's, like Linux. It's free software like LibreOffice. The difference is it just runs on a server. So that means if you want, you can host it on your own server. You can also try it out for yourself. There are many tutorials around the internet, so you can get a Raspberry Pi, for example, or an old PC and install their Nextcloud with server software. But also there are different hosters which do the technical stuff for you. I can really recommend it. And there's also one of my passion projects I developed myself. It does basically all the stuff for you, but currently the website is only in German. The project itself is completely open source and already has an English interface. The last thing, the website will be translated very, very soon. And then I can highly recommend you also Library Workspace for all international users, because it basically does all the stuff I mentioned and has even more open source software on top of it. So I can recommend you to have a look on it. And maybe if you see the video, this website is already translated. At this point, why do I have to care about my own data? The phrase comes often up, but I personally don't have nothing to hide. Everything's fine. I'm not doing anything unusual. That is how the current government might judge it. But let's wait, for example, for 10 years. The world might look very different. A government might come into power, it doesn't have to be here, that exploits exactly these things and has completely different values than we do right now. You can lose quickly and end up exposed. So I really recommend you give some thought to cloud software, especially if you don't own it and you don't have it under your own control. But in the end, believe me, you are doing yourself a favor for the future. Even if it's not often the standard path, you win in the long run, even if it's just taking a closer look at LibreOffice. I think most of you have heard of LibreOffice or OpenOffice. It's actually a complete, very capable office suite with everything included. Word processing, spreadsheets, and so on. Especially in the last few years, LibreOffice has improved significantly, I would say, and it's become much simpler. Now we have different interfaces. So if we go to View and a User Interface, then I can switch it to the tabbed mode and then I apply to all. And then we have a tabbed interface like in Microsoft Office, for example, which I personally think it's a cool invention, to be honest. I really like it and I always work with LibreOffice in that way. And considering that Microsoft wants to pull all its Office products into the cloud long term, first to sell your subscriptions more easily and second to pull you deeper into the Microsoft ecosystem, it is, in my view, time to use other software. So either LibreOffice, which is completely free and open. There will be a big new version soon that handles Microsoft formats better inside LibreOffice. However, if you want to switch but you are still very tightly bound to Microsoft formats, there is other software, for example, SoftMaker Office. They come from near Nuremberg, Germany. They specialize heavily in Microsoft formats, so you can use it on Windows just like LibreOffice and potentially free yourself from the clutches of Microsoft Office. As well, there are, for example, WPS Office or also OnlyOffice, which is open source and can do similar things like Microsoft Office. Now let's move to communication. We have the operating system, we have Office. Now we come to the next one, messengers. Yeah, WhatsApp, for example, belongs to Meta. We know that. For a long time, Threema was considered as a top alternative. I wouldn't warn against Threema directly, but pay attention. They were sold a while ago, or rather bought recently. A large investor changed. That doesn't have to be bad per se, but it's not truly decentralized. There is still a single large entity behind it, and with an investment firm involved, I'm a bit skeptical for the long term. Currently, I would still recommend Threema, but be careful here in the long term. The place where we have communication in our own hands and is where, for example, my library workspace project comes into play again. We can operate the communication service ourselves. This is the so-called matrix protocol. It's completely decentralized. That means anyone can run their own communication server. It doesn't belong to any single company. It's a huge open source project. You can imagine it a bit like email in concept, but it feels like WhatsApp or Discord in the good way. There are many mobile apps for the matrix protocol. One of the biggest is, for example, Element, which we also include in library workspace, for example. This makes the whole thing run completely decentralized. And regardless of what the EU decides regarding breaking encryption for Signal, WhatsApp and Co, or China or US or another country or area you live in, it won't matter us personally, because for us communication runs over our own server in our own four walls and nobody can touch us there. It's a pretty cool thing, to be honest. I use it daily, even if the matrix protocol or element isn't perfect yet. It's a huge gain. So I wouldn't necessarily recommend switching from WhatsApp to Signal or Threema, but rather for the very, very long term, keeping it in our own hands. You can do it yourself or use some other hosting projects, like for example Library Workspace, but there are also plenty other options out there. I'll link a few things in the description. And speaking of decentralized, there are also decentralized social media. We don't have Twitter anymore, it's now called X. Other platforms don't make it easy either, but there is a completely decentralized social media where no big company can buy in. Everyone can run their own instance. The biggest of them is Mastodon. I have an account there, so if you want, you are very welcome to follow me there. You'll also get various news there too. Now let's come to the last but not least topic, and that's the web browser, your gateway to the internet. Chrome is practically the new Internet Explorer monopoly. Microsoft Edge uses Chrome, Brave uses Chrome or Chromium, Opera same, Vivaldi same. Actually, the only big browser that stands out is Firefox and Safari from Apple. Otherwise, everything is Chromium based. I have to admit, I personally use Chromium relatively often because Firefox hasn't made it easy for us to like them in recent months or years, but you have to hand it them. Firefox is one of the last major browsers with its own engine. For those who want it stricter, there is, for example, LibraryWolf. I see more and more people using this in support tickets, which makes me very happy. There are also new projects like, for example, the Zen browser, which is actually based on the Firefox engine. That's pretty cool, though it's still in development, so we have to wait a bit. If you use Firefox or LibraryWolf even just as a secondary browser like I do, you've already gained a lot, even though I have to say, due to Chrome monopoly, some websites unfortunately work better with Chromium. That's the downside. Nevertheless, Firefox, LibraryWolf and Zen are trying hard to keep up, and they have really improved in the recent years, especially regarding, for example, online meetings. So definitely check that out. And when we get to search engines, it can be so simple to switch. I personally can recommend startpage.com. They use Google search in the background, but it's completely anonymized. Unfortunately, we have to admit that Google is still a damn good search engine, so Startpage is a solid recommendation. Otherwise, if you want to support the competition but still plant trees, there's Ecosia. They use to use 100% Bing, Microsoft, but they are actually breaking away from that right now. They're mixing in Google results, but they are also working a lot with the search engine Quant. This is a European search engine originally from France. So Ecosia is really exciting to watch, and they definitely pay more attention to your privacy than Bing or Google. Plus you plant trees. Not bad at all. And with that, we are almost through with the overview in this video. Definitely do not get discouraged. Digital sovereignty, that's the buzzword for having everything in your own hands, is definitely a marathon, not a sprint. You won't manage it overnight because I have to admit, it is incredibly convenient to use all the standard software from Microsoft and Google. That's what these companies are banking on. I haven't managed a complete switch myself yet, to be honest. I still use things in the Google realm, and AI is getting more exciting too. So who isn't using ChatGPT, Perplexity or Gemini right now? That is definitely material for a separate video, but I can recommend this. Every single step you take away from such companies is a good step, and you are simply not quite as dependent as before. Currently, it might all feel super convenient, but I can tell you long term it will eventually come at a cost. So if you just install Firefox or LibreOffice tomorrow, in my opinion, you have already gained a lot. And who knows, maybe you'll land on Linux Mint eventually. That makes me very happy too. So now write in the comments which US tool is the hardest for you to replace. I'm really curious about the discussion. If you found this video helpful, please leave a like and subscribe to this YouTube channel, because here on Linux Art we are releasing new stuff about Linux and open source every single week. So would be great to greet you in another video. And for that, see you hopefully in the next one. Bye.